Okay, so it is now 12 o'clock noon in New York. Hello, everybody. And Vital, are you monitoring this to make sure that people can hear me, right? I have a little bit of a dark
Yeah.
background, so I don't know if people are going to see everything. But I'm going to put up some screens as well. So first of all, thank you, everyone, and welcome to the webinar. I'm looking forward to doing a lot with this estate jewelry, and this is the plan. First of all, a general discussion about the opportunity, this call to action. Second of all, a little bit of a deep dive into into this auction that we're going to be holding here, and what it means and how it works and the ways in which we want to do things. And then finally, some questions and answers. I believe there should be a possibility for people to raise their hands or send something in to let us know that they wish to speak. Yes, you can just plug that in there. I'm just putting it on my big screen. So first of all, what's the big idea? Oh, great. My screen just went blank for a second. What's the big idea? What are we trying to accomplish here? What is this call to action about? And where do we stand? So the number one thing I want us to realize is that demographics don't lie. There's certain facts that are out there. And you see President Trump talking about fake facts or fake news, but there's certain things that are just absolutely obvious and that are definitely going to happen and that are there. And one of them is demographics. After World War II, the soldiers who were out on the battlefields for, 5-6 years, they came home, they got married, and they had children. In those days, people did get married, apparently. And they had children. And those children, they had a large bulk of children. I'm 67 years old, and I am smack in the middle of the baby boomers. I was born in 1952. So there's still baby boomers that are older than me and still some that are younger than me, which meant that there was a bulge in the United States population. What kind of bulge? 23% of the population. And if you ever wonder why all the good music came out in the 60s and everybody was into, all these good music and, sexual mores and everything, it's because the majority of Americans were young. And they were a lot of them. So there's approximately 97 million baby boomers and seniors. That's a lot of people. And these people are getting older. So the baby boomers have them from 55. But if you just think about the seniors, you're talking about 22.7 million people. And some of these people, not all of them, some of them got nice jewelry. And by the way, in the 1950s and 60s, well, 50s certainly, jewelry wasn't that, you got pretty decent stuff. There was no, you got pretty decent, nice jewelry, and you had a lot of branded jewelry as well. Now these people, no matter what I say, and no matter what people think, and no matter what opinions out there, these people are going to sell jewelry. How much? Some of it will be melt, but there will be billions of dollars of decent quality jewelry, watches, diamonds, gems for sale. And what is going to happen with these people? Who's going to take care of them? So right now, some of them, they run to pawn shops. There's some people that are trying to get them to mail it to New York. But who's going to take care of people that want to resell their jewelry? Now, I believe that the jewelers should. So I believe that jewelers really have an ethical obligation to take care of people who want to buy or sell jewelry. That's why God created jewelers. Now, will jewelers do it? Are they knowledgeable enough? Can they price things? Can they look at a Harry Winston or a Cartier piece and see if the middle stone was switched out? Can they tell if a piece is damaged? And I think that the whole thing about jewelers is that jewelers are supposed to understand jewelry. They're supposed to have a certain level of expertise. And that's why consumers go to jewelers. So if jewelers have the expertise to understand what a piece of jewelry is, this is a nice piece, this is not a nice piece, this is melt. It shouldn't even, there's no purpose to try to resell it as a piece of jewelry. This is not melt. Now we're starting to talk about application of expertise. Now, the application of expertise is something that jewelers can do, and it is very necessary to differentiate all these goods that these millions of consumers are going to be selling. All right. What do you need besides expertise? You need money. Now, what I'm predicting is there's areas of the country where retirees go. Florida, Arizona, California, maybe. And there's certain, how should I say, hotspots where the elderly are living and they want to sell their jewelry. So let's say you have the typical situation which runs today where a jeweler sits to me and says, you know what, I'm buying, no problem. You show me a piece that I think is worth $10,000, I'll give you $3,000. And I'll sell it for maybe 10, maybe 9, maybe 8. I'll make a beautiful profit. But it takes him a long time to sell the goods. And eventually he gets to the stage where, or she gets to the stage where she can't buy in any more goods because she's only buying in what she can sell in her store. And her store doesn't have enough buyers. So there's more goods for sale in certain regions than there are buyers. And in general, as we look at this lump of millennials, and you're talking about a decade, at least a decade, I assume a couple of $1 billion a year at least for something down the order of 20 years or 15 years. So now as these goods come into the market, you can't, what are you going to do with the goods? Then you're going to stop buying. I talked to one jeweler in California. He says, I already have 2 safes full of goods. I can't take, even if it's the cheapest deal in the world, I have no place to put I can't keep buying the goods. So this is crying out for a central market. Because if you could buy in goods at, say, 50% of its so-called value that you think, but you can flip them within 1 month, within 3 weeks, you can flip that and you can get cash for it. You're going to buy some more goods because you're not reliant on the fact that you can resell what you buy in your store. You can send it to a central market. Now, this idea of getting liquidity by having a central market is fundamental to the idea that Rapaport's trying to introduce over here. Which means that if, let's say, you buy something at, I don't know, 50 below the market. It's hard to say, 50 below retail. And you sell it and you make 50%, well, now you're 75 below retail. And some dealer in New York says, you know, I'll buy it, maybe, I shouldn't say below retail. Let's say there's a wholesale price. So you buy it at like, I don't know, 40 below, 50 below, okay, the wholesale price, which is very low. And then you sell it at 25 below the wholesale price, assuming there is such a thing for jewelry, estate jewelry, which is very different. You'll just keep buying and flipping, because you're making 50% every time you flip the thing. Now, what's going to happen is if we have a real market, there's going to be competition among the jewelers who are buying the goods because they know they can get liquidity. So if we have a market with no liquidity, it's a disaster. No one wants to buy. And if you can only buy if you can sell and you can't sell, so you're not going to buy. And then the consumer is going to get totally ignored. But if you have a market where you can get liquidity, you can buy, you can flip, you can sell. Even if you only make 10%, you're going to compete. So then you'll say, fine, I'm going to make 10%, but it's going to make 10% every month on $100,000 or $1 million. You're going to end up being very wealthy. Now, will you make 10% or 20% or 50%? That's the market that's going to talk, the competitive market. But if people know they can get liquidity and they have the expertise to understand what it is that they're buying and they know what they sold it for, they are going to make more money buying jewelry, diamonds, maybe watches, than selling. So imagine you have a store. Imagine you sell in your store. You make a certain profit margin, but you can make more money buying in goods than flipping them because there's going to be a lot of people looking to sell goods. This is this crazy Rapaport idea over here that a jeweler can make more money buying than actually selling in a store. So your store becomes a buying center. Now, so the ethical obligation to deal with the elderly is there. And, you know, we really have to think, what is this jewelry? Is jewelry garbage that you can never get any money for it? Or is jewelry something of great value? I was just looking at the estate sales at Christie's. So it's fantastic, these guys. They really are creating a wonderful market and a wonderful value for jewelry. When someone sees, and right now I think they're dealing with the Rothschild estate or they're dealing with the Onassis estate, or something, it's great. I bought something, I held it, I gave it to now my children, I got old, and I sold it for $500,000, $300,000, $1 million. That's fantastic because it shows people that jewelry really does have value. And that's what our industry needs to do to get the confidence going. So it's not just an ethical obligation, which is important, it's also the confidence. What is this jewelry product? Is this something that's liquid? Is this something that you can get money out of? And historically and traditionally, it was always there. I mean, people survived the Holocaust, people travel, people come, people go. They had this jewelry. It's what gave them an ability to get some money for themselves. Okay. So this idea of then selling it, how are you going to sell it? And you don't have to come to New York to get ripped off. If you're going to sell, let's say you're a jeweler and you bought something, right? You can get ripped off in Dallas. You can get ripped off in New York too. And Rapaport's not in the business of buying goods, okay? So we don't hold inventories. So we make markets. What does that mean? We go and we say, okay, here's this jewelry. Bidders, come and buy. Show the jewelry, get a critical mass of bidders, and get competitive bidding. And it's my view, I think some people are recently arguing with me, that fair market values involves competitive bidding by a lot of bidders. So we put the goods on 47th Street. We broadcast it all over the internet. We have an online catalog for the goods, which I'll show you in a minute. And bingo, people can come, they can look, they can bid, they can do business. Now, we're already doing this with diamonds, loose diamonds, Melly, and single stones, and we're selling about 500 or 400,000 carats a year, okay? So we've been running these auctions for, 10 years now, Michelle? How many years? 10? And it works. So now for jewelry, it's a little different. It's actually quite exciting with jewelry. So the idea is to get liquidity through fair market value auctions. And that's something that we can do, and we can work very fast, and we don't have to have the most expensive things. I'll just kind of start showing you some stuff in a minute. Now, the idea of a central market that provides liquidity using fair market value competitive bidding, that is at the essence of what I'm talking about. Now, I would take questions, but I want to keep going for a little bit before I do the questions. So that's the core. That's the cornerstone of what I'm talking about. Demographics, there's going to be lots of sellers. And can we buy goods from these people? If we can resell them, we can buy them, and we can make money buying the goods, and we can get fair market value when we sell them. And look, even if the jewelers buy them, the jewelers are going to compete. If they get fair market value, they'll end up giving a better price to the consumers. Creating that market is going to benefit the consumer, the dealers, the auction, everybody. And dealers have an important role here because when jewelers want to sell a nice Cartier piece or something, right? And there's no, who's going to buy it? Now, a dealer will buy it because he knows what it's worth, and he knows later he can give it to a retailer in Boston or in, I don't know, someplace else, in Geneva, who knows? So the bottom line over here is that dealers have a role to play providing liquidity. And the goal isn't to knock everybody out. The goal is to say, okay, we're going to get these jewelers, we're going to go these consumers, they're going to buy from the consumer, they can sell to another consumer. It could happen like it does at Christie's and Sotheby's. But the goal is to create a market space that provides liquidity at fair market value. Okay. Now, what is this product? Is this a lousy product? Is this some kind of a, I'm trying to sell old horses. I'm trying to sell all kinds of junky items, used clothing. No, we're talking about really amazing stuff. I'm going to jump out and I digress for a second on the screen here. I mean, we're talking about things that are essentially, it's fantastic. Look at this stuff over here. I mean, this is not, these pieces are not like junky things. This is fun stuff. So it's unique, it's different, it's interesting, it's fantastic. It's you get branded stuff in here, okay? When could you sell, I don't see them here. There's Elizabeth. Here's a Van Cleef, okay? We should show this a little bigger so you can actually see it. But where would you sell the Van Cleef brand in your store? You never have such an opportunity, okay? But now you do. Now you may end up in a situation where you're buying in beautiful pieces. Here's a nice Van Cleef butterfly, okay? Here's a Tiffany thing. There's all kinds of things out here. So what I'm trying, my point is that if I came to you and I said, look, let's create a market for selling old horses. Let's create a market for selling something junky. Okay, yeah, not exciting. This stuff is really good. So I'm making a market for something, or we are making a market for something which is fantastic. One of a kind, unique, branded, and it does generate excitement. All right, now how is this market going to work, and who are the buyers going to be? Now, I have some people, I just got an email from someone responding to my article, and there is an article, by the way, you should see it, and we'll make sure we email everybody who signed up. Maybe if you've already gone to the site and seen the article, but he said, no, millennials are never going to buy this stage jewelry. Not going to happen. And I disagree with that. First of all, millennials are getting older every day. And millennials are smart people. And millennials have a nose for value. But also, we need to sell them. We need to market it. We need to take a proactive stance and show a millennial when they walk into the store, here's a beautiful piece of jewelry. What do you think? And this is something you can really market. Environmentally, no problem. Ethically, fantastic. So when we need to sell something, so I didn't try to sell it, but no one wants it. Yeah, that's not. Yeah, that's ridiculous. There will be jewelers and dealers who will sell it to consumers, and these consumers will be millennials. And I also point out that what was the name of that great hockey player, Wayne Gretzky. So they asked Wayne Gretzky. They said, Wayne Gretzky, tell me, why are you such a great hockey player? And Wayne Gretzky says, everybody goes where the puck is. I go where the puck is going to be. Everybody's looking at millennials right now as they are today. I call them Tinderites, okay? And they don't need to get married, and they don't need to make commitments. But as millennial women get older, they're going to make decisions about whether or not they want to have children. And when they decide that they want to have children, they're going to want a relationship. And so I'm saying to you, there's no question in my mind where the puck is going. The puck is going to a world with more commitment, more relationships. A recent Cosmo magazine article points out that millennials have a 25% lower divorce rate. And the reason is because they're waiting longer to get married because 50% of them, their parents were divorced. So you can understand why millennials say, hold on a minute, I'm not getting married so fast. But when they do get married, they're going to go for the commitment. And when they go for the commitment, they're going to be in the jewelry market. And now maybe I'm wrong, maybe you disagree with me, but I believe that's what's going to happen. And I think we have to recognize that old, as in estate jewelry, is the new. And that's going to become very cool. I mean, we're already seeing kind of weird stuff going on, millennials buying secondhand clothing and all kinds of stuff. But there's no question in my mind that we're going to see a tremendous opportunity to sell millennials here. But they won't be millennials anymore. We think about millennials a certain way, right? They're going to be, I don't know, not elderly, but they're going to be the middle-aged, the middle millennials, millennials. I don't know what you want to call them. But the bottom line is we need to evolve our thinking and to sell it. And now the question is going to be, who's going to do this? Will this be big companies who advertise in the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, full-page ads, who want to go public, send me your jewelry? Or will this be jewelers? I'm betting on the jewelers. In other words, there has been a lot of disruption in the diamond and jewelry industry. No question, a lot of disruption. But I don't believe that the fundamental uses of people have gone away. In other words, sure, Blue Nile kill you when you're selling JA certified goods for people who only want to buy over the internet. Amazon, absolutely. But what skills does the jewelers have? You think Amazon's going to get involved in estate jewelry? They're not going to. It's too small, it's too unique, it's too one of a kind. I can't be sure they won't. But essentially what I'm trying to say to you is that jewelers have an opportunity to get back into the jewelry business. Because I look at jewelers today and I say, what are you doing? Even if they have Rolex and they have a brand, they're glorifying showcases. And, you know, so what are they doing really that you need a jeweler for? Maybe you could replace them with robots. Because if it's only about the ability to have, you know, be in the mall, which are dying, or to be physically located where you can show product, maybe there'll be robots doing this at some stage. Or maybe Amazon will figure a great way to ship stuff. You know, it doesn't matter. I'm saying to you, the ability to look at a nice piece of jewelry and assess it, fix it sometimes, understand its intrinsic value, understand the artistry in it, the provenance of it, the value of it. That's something which is unique, which definitely takes us back to the world of jewelers. So I'm very strong about this idea that you need jewelers. You can use jewelers, or more frankly, jewelers can add value. I'm hopeful. If jewelers don't do it, other people will do it. But I do believe jewelers have a position to do it. So this is the first part of this little talk over here, to kind of talk about what is the opportunity. And this isn't only about Rapaport auctions. This is about everybody thinking, hey, I can go out there and I can do something in my store and I can learn about my community and I can get to know, you know, I don't know if you should visit old age homes or not, but you shouldn't rip people off, okay? But you may want to think about, okay, in my community, what's the story with these elderly? Who's buying their jewelry? And you might want to think about the dealers. If you're a dealer, you may want to think about, can I get into this game? Can I be an expert enough? Can I learn prices for these things? Because this is difficult. I mean, every piece is different. As you'll see in our auction, we've got pieces for $5,000, and people pieces for $100,000. And I'll tell you something weird. Every piece is going in the auction is going to be appraised. Well, it's going to be evaluated, not valuated. But we looked at some of the retail valuations that the appraisers put on, and they're all over the place. No consistency necessarily. So we're talking about an area where there's a lot of opportunity for people to assign value, and a lot of differentials. But anyways, that's the story that I wanted to make, and briefly to review. Demographics is going to drive an increasing supply of estate jewelry. There's an ethical obligation for the jeweler to deal with people, not just product, and not just be sellers, but to be buyers. There's an opportunity here to make money buying and then flipping. There's a requirement and a need for a liquid, fair market value market. There's an opportunity to sell millennials and buyers. U.S. jewelers need to get off the horse and play a more proactive role, ensuring that they can buy in the stuff, okay? And we are going to be in a situation where dealers also can provide liquidity to a market. Before I go on to talk about the Rapaport Estate Jewelry Auction, which is one of the purposes of this call, maybe I can stop for a minute and entertain questions. So I don't know if you could help us with this, if anybody has any questions or how questions work on this Zoom thing. But can you help me here, Avital? Anybody? I see we have 37. Hey, Ellie's here. Ellie had a big discussion. He was sending me an email on fair market value. I haven't had a chance to see your response yet, Billy, but I don't necessarily want to go into the technicalities of fair market value. Now, I want to keep a focus on this idea, and I'm happy to talk to you about it. I want to keep a focus on the idea of, hey, is estate jewelry really an amazing opportunity for the jewelers in the United States?
Yes, Mike, it is. It is a great opportunity, and kol hakavod to you. Greatest respect and greatest compliments on your taking this initiative. And there's no reason it can't be very successful for all the reasons that you mentioned. This is not the place to debate fair market value because it's actually not debatable. The terminology is a problem, but that's irrelevant right now. I mean, the main points are the points you're discussing, other than that particular label, which is easily changed in a manner that can
right. Do you
incentivize
think
profits.
Can make money? Can jewelers make money?
Yeah, absolutely.
And can dealers make money?
Absolutely. Many years ago, 30 years ago, back in the day, there was a group of AGS jewelers. As a matter of fact, I had an article about this on estate jewelry, buying, selling, and appraising, a two-part feature article in the Rapaport Diamond Report in the 90s, you may remember. Because in the 80s, there was a conglomeration of primarily American Gem Society jewelers who had a very interesting innovation. And that's part of what was in the article, that we don't want people don't like seeing their inherited jewelry, their valuable heirlooms, sitting in a store window for everyone who knows their jewelry to see that, oh, they had to sell their jewelry or whatever. So they developed this procedure, this group of folks who they would swap the jewelry. They would each send their jewelry to each other so that it would be resold in a different market. So the point is, there's been many different forms and different reasons and utility of many types of markets like this since the beginning of time. But you're talking about a particular niche, and it is a valid niche. It's an important niche, and frankly, Rapaport has the golden touch, so that alone will make it a niche.
No, kind of you to say. All right, Q&A. I see there's something here with a little nod here. How are you going to make sure the quality is declared will be matched with the quality of the product? Due to the fact that the lab-grown diamonds, how are you going to make sure the pieces are free of lab-grows? Okay, that's from Ramazan Mete Alak. First of all and every piece is going to a professional appraiser, and we're getting an evaluation for every piece, and we're testing every piece for synthetics. The one area we are seeing a few small synthetics is when we're dealing with some antique jewelry, believe it or not, from 100 years ago, and we're looking at colored stones or maybe even colored glass sometimes, and we're disclosing that. But there are no synthetic diamonds. There were some pieces that we tested that had synthetic diamonds, right, Michelle? Right? And we rejected them, okay? So everything is being tested, and there will be an actual jewelry evaluation or grading report, what are they calling it, for every single piece in the auction. okay? We're just now posting it and putting our catalog together. So now we can't guarantee things forever, but we can say that we're doing our due diligence to make sure that anything that is being put up in the auction environment is in fact tested. And not only that, we're also making efforts to make sure that as well as we can, that no diamonds are switched in some branded pieces. I mean, one of the oldest tricks that we've seen is that people buy like a Harry Winston piece and then swap out the FVBS2 diamond for, I don't know, a KI1, or not that bad, but even for a VSJ color. So we're looking at pieces to, and and the truth is we're outsourcing this to people that are just really good at stuff. Okay, I'm going to move on a little bit now to talk a bit about the actual mechanics of how we're going to run this market. So first of all, we're having our first auction on December 3rd, on November 3rd to the 7th. Michelle is with me here, and she is the runner of she's the CEO of Rapaport in New York, and she's really on top of things here. And she's been running all the Melly and the single stone auctions. And Ziggy Spindler is with me, and Ziggy is the guy who is actually going to be dealing with everybody and talking to everybody and making sure that people understand what it is and making sure that bids come in and that everything is correct. And I'm personally here in New York for this auction as well. It's our first one, so I'm putting some effort in. Now, it's a couple of things. First of all, go to the website, www.jewelry.rapaport.com. You can email us, jewelry@rapaport.com. There's a phone number there. There's the dates are there. And it's a tender auction, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. So first of all, let me just take you over to the site right away. And let's go to the actual site. And when you're on the site over here, you see the dates of the auction. And the auction's going to close. And I have to be careful because this is a bidding close over here. The bidding is going to close on the 7th at 1 p.m. And Avital, you may want to say bidding close and change that in that graphic there. Now, there's registration, which is really important, okay? And then you can go to the auction catalog. There's webinars here. The auction fact sheet is very important because it will explain, like an FAQ, various aspects of the auction. And you can request a viewing appointment by sending an email. And, this isn't the fanciest website. And, what we want to do is create something that actually works. So we've started the functionalities here. This is my article. There's a video. And then here you can actually get the forms necessarily to bid. I do want to point out that anyone who bids, you can bid, but your bid is not going to be accepted unless we call you and check you and make sure you're okay and know who you are. And this brings us to the idea also of just what kind of auction it is. Now, before I talk of that, I want to go through the products a little to show you. What we did over here, we had Marissa working with us as a merchandiser. It's not yet in order, the auction catalog. I hope to have this done a little bit later, so you'll actually be able to see things. They're just now starting to put it together. But these are pieces that we feel are very liquid in the market. So we're not selling every piece of every jewelry that America can throw at you. We are being selective. There's exactly 200 pieces in the auction. And we've spent quite a bit of time selecting what it is and how it is and what the pieces look like. So when you come here, you can actually, click on a piece and look at it. We are going to also, and this is the public, this is the site, not inside of RapNet. A lot of the bidding is going to be taking place inside of RapNet. But in any case, you can see it, and we are going to be putting up a video of every piece. And we are also going to be putting up the ability to bid and this grading report, this jewelry grading report that I'm talking about is going to be here. So really, if you come here, you come to this Rapaport.jewelry. The Rapaport.jewelry is another site. But it's basically where we laid everything out. But you can go to www.jewelry.rapaport.com. You're there. You can also type in Rapaport.jewelry if you want. But this is how you get here. And then here you're going to see all the things that are necessary to register and to bid, and even also there's an aspect of this thing that you want to get a Rapaport trading account. It's over here. We're going to have to fix that up so you can open a Rapaport trading account. And this is still in work because the auction only starts on the 3rd, but we hope to have everything up by tomorrow here, so you can actually look at things. You can look at pieces. You'll start to see more things. You'll start to see the appraiser document, the evaluation document, and all the rest of it. Now, let me take you to another strange and interesting situation, where we're going to be dealing with what we call a tender auction. Tender auction is essentially a silent auction. Now, it's kind of some unique features. First of all, it's not like a live auction where you can see when someone else is bidding. You can't see when anyone else is bidding. You make your bid. If your bid is going to be off the undisclosed reserve price at the end. So everybody makes their bids until 1 p.m. on Thursday. After 1 p.m. Thursday, Michelle and her team go through all the bids to verify that the people who are making the bids are legitimate people. They has to have some kind of compliance, so we know who they are, and they have to they have to get a trading account and fill out the form. If we see your bidding and it looks like your bids are serious and you haven't filled out the form, there'll be some Rapaport people calling you and emailing you and nudging you to make sure that you fill out all the compliance, because without compliance and registration, we can't really accept your bid. Now, we're going to go and confirm all the bids and check what the bids of that they made. It could be a cat jumped on someone's keyboard. Instead of offering $3,000, you offer $300,000 for a piece. Now that's going to stick out. So Michelle and her teams can go over the bids and make sure all the bids are approved, which is very different than when you bid in a live auction. And we do have live auctions that we do also. When you put the bid in and that's it, everybody sees it, and you don't know what's going on. So here we're going to be very careful to make sure people's bids are correct. If the bids are above the undisclosed reserve, it'll automatically be a deal. If they're below the reserve, within reason, we're going to communicate to the seller and say, my good friend, Mr. Seller, we can give you so much money. And you either take the piece back or you get the money, your call. So there's going to have that's going to happen. And we estimate that's going to take about 24 hours. So we will probably be in a situation by about 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock Friday, that we will then have the answers from all of the sellers as to whether or not they're accepting all the bids. Now, Michelle is then going to send an email out. It could be because of the Jewish Sabbath, it won't happen on Friday, but it'll certainly happen by Sunday. We'll send out a message to all the buyers and say to them, my good friends, here you won the lot, here you didn't win the lot, and respond to their bids. So they'll see if they won any bids. I don't know if we'll tell them they didn't win, but we'll tell them what they did win, and then we'll send them an invoice, and then they will have 3 days to make payment. Commissions, we're going to charge 10% from all the sellers. If the buyer is a member of the trade, then there's no additional buyer's fee. If the buyer is a consumer or a private investor or doesn't have a resale certificate, and by the way, everybody's going to have a resale certificate if they're in the trade, or else they have to pay sales tax, which is kind of expensive. If they're not someone who is a member of the trade, then they can first of all try to get someone else as a member of the trade, but Rapaport will also handle them with another company called Rapaport Private, who will in fact charge them 10%. So we'll have that opportunity. They will. I think it's important to have private people that can buy, but they can go to any jeweler. They can go to someone else, and that person can then come in and bid. But we are differentiating between people who are members of the trade and people who are not members of the trade, and we are putting in a 10% differential as far as we can. But yeah, now the consumer might go to Joe Jeweler, and Joe Jeweler says, I'll do it for you for 2%, for 20%, and that's their business. Another strange thing about this tender auction is we will not be disclosing the prices. We won't be disclosing the bid prices. Only, that's number one. Except the seller obviously is going to see the price he sold it at. But we're not going to make a big public hoo-ha about the prices. Now, why? Because if someone actually buys a piece at this auction, they're going to want to resell it. And I don't think it's fair that if I bought a piece here for $8,000, I got a good deal supposedly, I want to sell it for 10, and everybody in the industry says, you bought that for 8, I'm not giving you 10, I'll give you $8,200. And I think that the confidentiality here of the prices, although I love transparency and I'm in the pricing business, I think it's important for people to be able to protect themselves and not burn the pieces. So, people talk about somebody's giving things to these big auction houses and they see the bidding, and the bidding only goes up to $200,000, and then the guy thought, hey, that piece is supposed to bring in 400, and everybody just kind of giggles whenever he tries to sell it for 400. They say it only brought 200 at the auction. So we're going to be very protective of the pieces. We're going to be protective of the buyers, and it's going to be almost like a private transaction between the seller and the buyer, but getting fair market value. I use the phrase, getting competitive bidding, and that's pretty much the game here. There's not a lot of complications, although the tender auction is different than a live auction. We are going to hold this auction now from the 3rd to the 7th. I don't know that we'll be able to hold an auction in December, but we're going to be thinking about running an ongoing auction. So what that means is that if you type in www.jewelry.rapaport.com, after the auction, you'll start seeing additional pieces offered for sale. And this thing is going to get a life of its own. I don't know if it'll be an eBay-like environment where there's ongoing availability of estate jewelry pieces every day, bada bing, bada bang, bada boom. And we're going to want them appraised if we can to make sure that the pieces get appraised. Normally, we're going to charge $100 if they want to appraise it. We won't do the appraising ourselves, but any legitimate appraisal document is fine. But we want some third party or someone to say this is what it is so they can describe the piece. And we're just going to keep this thing flowing. Our goal is to create liquidity and to make sure that there's enough bidders out there that people can, get a fair price. Now, it's very difficult because what you need to understand about this estate jewelry, there's so much difference in this stuff. This is not like FVVS2 diamonds. I mean, every piece is another story, is something different, is appealing to someone different. And pricing this stuff, you can't commoditize this very easily. Maybe I could think about certain ways to commoditize this, but frankly, it's very hard to commoditize any of these things. I don't know. What's a lizard worth? Make a price sheet for lizards? I mean, give me a break. So this is fun. And some people say, Rapaport killed the diamond industry. Okay, fine, maybe, whatever. We commoditize diamonds. But you can't commoditize this stuff. So every jeweler can come up with his idea of what it's worth. The dealers can back up the market with some of their cash to buy it. And then we have fun selling it. So I'm telling you guys, this is going to be fun. It's not just, there's a need. People want to sell. They want to send their grandchildren to college. They want to get money for their retirement, which is the motivating factor behind having motivated sellers. The guy in Florida wants to sell, and all he's asking for is a fair price. He has no idea what it's worth. Most of the jewelers, no idea what it's worth. But if you get in the game, you can start flipping stuff. This necklace over here, for example, it's fantastic. It's beautiful. I mean, you really have to see it. But there's some stuff in here. What is this, a flying saucer or something? Who is this? This was also and this is for an Indian who's going to love this, okay? And I don't know, someone else, I don't know what's going to happen to brooches. These earrings are fantastic, And what is it, $2,000? So there's stuff over here at all kinds of price points, $18,000 and stuff like that. So in any case, I'm not here to sell this specific piece of jewelry. What I'm trying to accomplish today is to sell the idea that estate jewelry is valuable, unique, fun, and that more and more jewelers should be involved in this. And I'm also selling the idea that the jewelry industry has a moral obligation to take care of these baby boomers who want to sell their jewelry. You got to be in this market. We got to create this market. And I'm looking for, and one big thing I was saying, there's enough goods for everybody. There's enough types of goods for everybody. So really, everybody's going to have an opportunity here. And there's not like, there's not enough, there's shortage. There's going to be so much of this goods coming down the pipe that everybody can get in on the action. So these are my thoughts. We're in this thing for 38 minutes. I thought we'd do it in 30. Questions, issues, anybody? There's another question? Great, another question. From Ora Trieber, how can we as Rapaport create the demand from millennials to buy these estate jewelry? As with no-end buyers, jewelers won't bid on the auctions. Well, first of all, some jewelers will bid on the auctions because they look at something that's a beautiful piece. And they want to put a Cartier, if it's branded or not, in their office. Second of all, a lot of dealers will bid on these pieces because today, by the way, no one's waiting for Rapaport. Ellie Rosal was telling you 30 years ago we were doing stuff with this. But there is a market out there. It's not that organized. It's not that centralized. It's not that liquid, okay? There was just an estate jewelry show in New York, when was it, yesterday, right? And just ended yesterday. And there's lots of people and booths and people buying and selling. Now, what's a jeweler gonna do? Well, question is, if you believe in the product, you can sell it. And if the millennials come in and you sit there and they say, hi, we're getting engaged, or hi, we're celebrating our wedding anniversary, or hi, I want to get something for Mother's Day, or, It's funny. I had some people come to me, a young guy, and he's part of my Harvard group. And he said to me, I bought my wife an engagement ring. He must be 35, 40 now, George, something like that. And he said, now I've made a lot of money and I really want to buy her something fantastic. And, and he looked at this. First, he bought her a big expensive diamond. But besides that, he looked at this stuff. He was so happy. He was so, I can get her something for $3,000, $5,000, $10,000. So when a millennial walks in, okay, it's true. We're going to be selling rich people. Forgive me, but I'm thinking that maybe we need to concentrate on millennials that have money if you're going to sell them jewelry. But when you look at something here, mid-century ear clips, 28 I think these estimates are wrong, but I'm going to recheck them. It's still not the officially on this website. You can go there, but it's not the final catalog yet. But that's amazing. A woman receiving this is going to be beside herself. It's not manufactured. It's not grinded out like here's another piece of spaghetti. Here's another commoditized product. And so, I think millennials are going to buy it, but we have to sell it to them. Okay. Third question. Ramazan is back. Practically, how are you going to conduct the exports logistics? We provide things FOB New York, so drinks, malkameh, anyone you want. When it comes to jewelry imports, there are certain regulations in other countries. That's true. So you're going to have to pay taxes. If you want to import the jewelry, now you might want to buy it in Hong Kong, which does not have taxes, and ship to Brinks, Hong Kong. But it really depends where you can sell it and what you can do. I mean, I have found a very strange thing at Rapaport. The more taxes I pay, the more money I make. And there seems to be some correlation there. Okay? And I'm not dealing in cash. So, I think that you're going to end up paying taxes. Now, I don't know if you want to do business in Dubai, and even Dubai has a 5% import tax now, I would imagine. But whatever you do, wherever you go, that's your market. Now, it's true. People can travel. So they can go to Hong Kong and buy, for example, and then they avoid taxes in China or wherever. But even now, we're seeing more people buying things.
Sell to you?
Excuse me? I'm listening.
Oh, I'm sorry, Martin. I didn't know I was live. This is Chipper.
Okay, I love live. We can actually hear things.
I'm not really good on this computer stuff. I'm on my cell phone. This is awful. I was afraid to interrupt. I didn't know what I was doing.
Do you have a question? Do you have a question?
Two questions. First off, I'm excited about this, and this is something I've been thinking about for a number of years. I'm ecstatic about this. Two concerns I have. One is the public going to sell to you? They're going to have
they can if they want to, but we're not. That's not our target market. We're not like Circa or other places that do it. But we're not going to buy it. The public can put it up for auction.
Okay.
But
okay.
we're not going to buy anything. Rapaport is not going to take a position on any of these pieces.
Because I
don't know. Maybe my wife will make me crazy, but we're not in the business of buying the jewelry.
Yeah, because I'm thinking that might hurt the jeweler if they get known that they could go to you and you deal direct with them.
They would have to pay. I think there would still be an additional 10% fee to them. So it's going to be a 20% on that.
But
I can't stop people from trying to sell jewelry. So yeah, I mean we're not going to be able. We can protect the jewelry industry to some extent by saying, if you're not a member of the trade, you got to pay 10% on the buy. Maybe 20% on the sell. I'm going to look at that. But a private person that comes and says, I want to sell something, and we put it into an auction, just like Christie's and Sotheby's or all the other houses, okay, we would take it and we would work with it. But I'm thinking that's going to be an exception. I don't think that would be the normal case. Although, you might have someone come to New York, show something at Christie's or Sotheby's, or Bonham's or any of the other auction houses, and then come to us and say, could you sell the piece? Would we take it in? We probably would. But, to be realistic, but are we going to go and market this everywhere? I think a wealthy consumer in Dallas, Texas, it depends. Look, if it's a $200,000 piece, they'll go to New York. But if it's $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, and there is a good jeweler in Texas, then they probably go to the jeweler who knows what they're doing and advises them and maybe repairs the piece or whatever is necessary. So maybe they'll go to an appraiser. I really don't know how this is going to evolve, but I do feel that there is an important role for the local jeweler to
That's
provide the
absolutely.
expertise right there. Now, if someone says, I don't want that expertise from the local jeweler, if there is no good local jeweler, I don't know, Lima, Peru or something, yeah,
Yeah.
the guy's going to show up at Rapaport or Christie's or at Bonham's or who knows where and offer a piece of jewelry for sale. So yeah, to be honest, I can't tell you different, but yeah, if a consumer came in here and a private individual showed us a nice piece of jewelry, sure, we would offer it for sale. But then the dealer will make money buying it, because they'll be motivated sellers.
And do you think that selling to the public now, by selling this to the public, this is going to give them an opportunity to buy more of a direct from the source than it would be from buying from us? Do you think that that might possibly hurt the retail value of things?
Yeah, I
These are
mean,
things we have to entertain, Martin, because
yeah, I was thinking about this a lot, and it was
yeah, we really need to work on this. This is a great idea, but I think we have to really. It's
look. I don't know. I don't know what the market will bear in terms of the differentials in prices and the bid-ask spread. We're talking about a 20% bid-ask spread. You have other sites like, I don't know, First Dibs or other places that are working in the 30% or whatever spread. And some of them are successful, but they're mostly doing furniture and who knows what. I don't know that where the market's going to sit on this thing. I don't know that people won't say to a consumer, I'll sell it to you at Christie's or Sotheby's or Rapaport or anyone else, and I'm going to take 2% or 5% or 30%. But it really is an open market question. I don't think there's any way to protect retailers. I think retailers who are going to add value are going to make a lot of money. I think retailers that don't add value aren't going to make any money. But I don't know that we can have a price point protect. I can say to you that it's not worth it for me to sell anything to a consumer without making 10%. So if a consumer comes and wants to deal with the auction, he'd come to a Rapaport Private, which is another company that deals with privates, and say, okay, I want to bid at the auction. We're going to say, listen, we're happy to deal with you, but it's going to charge you money. It's going to cost you, 10% buyers. Like Christie's and Sotheby's also has buyer fees.
And they all charge.
That means, that means to some extent we are protecting jewelers or dealers or people in the trade. And it's funny because I looked at State Farm Insurance. They also say, we'll give you 10% if you take care of the consumer. We'll send you the piece. Now, I don't know if I like State Farm so much or what they do or their prices and how they operate, but I can only say to you, there's no shortage of jewelers that would be happy to provide that extra added value. But I don't know, it really depends on the market. If jewelers can make 20% also, if they get to know somebody and they say, I will buy it from you, and I know I can liquidate it at Rapaport or any place else. Now, the big thing about us is we're going to try to run this ongoing and maybe start to be able to liquidate things in 3 weeks. Okay, so you can flip. We're creating a flippable market.
For high end.
Excuse me?
For high end.
Well, medium and high end. I'm looking at the screen.
Not
I got 3,700.
Yeah, not the 100 to 200, 500, $500,000, $10 million pieces, which the public is both buying. The public buys that and the dealer buys it because it's a scary market when you're going into $1 million piece for a public person, unless you have a representative.
There are experts in that. There are people who know how to deal with $1 million per carat items. But this is the bread and butter of America. What you're looking at here is pretty much what's available. And don't forget, I don't think any of the pieces in this auction are coming from consumers. Is that correct, Ziggy?
Which is good.
Maybe one or two pieces.
Majority is from.
Yeah, majority. So the bottom line is, though, we're selecting. We're sniffing. We're not just throwing anything that comes up and there you go.
Good, good.
Someone that buys, here's this piece. I thought this was the ugliest thing in the world, this black kind of a thing. But it's actually Victorian. And there are dealers who love this, who go, wow. There's collectors who go crazy for this. Okay? So I have an expert here who is having a good sense of aesthetics, and and they say this looks like great stuff. Well, I don't know, seed pearl necklace, 1870s, 1970s. It's like 150 years old. Okay, so people love that stuff. Antique is over 100 years old, and you'll see it. Oscar Hyman's nice necklaces and stuff. So
Beautiful
I
stuff.
can here, colored stones. Look at this. Here's the thing. And then some of them have certificates that they're not, grading reports that they're not color treated. Okay. Bottom line is this is amazing stuff, and I hope people will love it. And I think
Martin,
people are going to buy it and be happy. But
do you think
that's
that
about it.
possibly you could set up a platform where I know if somebody comes into you personally, but I'm talking about the guy from California that calls you up back in New York or Las Vegas or whatever, if that it could be sent to the local jeweler.
Yeah, I would encourage that. I would encourage that. And as
Yes.
a matter of fact, we had a website, I don't know where it is, but we had something where if you say that you're a consumer or something and you register, we had something that said to you, we encourage you to work with your local jewelers.
Local dealer.
Okay?
Someone that's involved with you in this organization.
Yeah.
Just like when we deal with a vendor, we have an area in which we are given that business. We're sent. If they come into their site.
Yeah, I've been talking to Savile about this. Now, I still have a lot of work to do with RapNet jewelry because RapNet also went into jewelry. And I think the RapNet members would get a leg up. And I think that what we might do is if we had RapNet members that we knew and trusted who were good with estate jewelry,
Yes.
especially if they bought at some of these auctions and they know what they're doing, why not send people to them?
Work together.
Not at all against our policy.
Yeah,
We're not greedy.
No, let's all work together because I think that's going to be the thing because so many times everybody is being undermined. I mean, a lot of these dealers are selling to the public. They're selling to us. The wholesalers are selling to us, and then they're cutting us out.
But by the way, you got to be realistic. That's what's going to happen. Look, Tiffany is mining diamonds. It's the real world, okay? And I doubt there's any real diamond manufacturers that doesn't have a website where they're trying to sell like Blue Nile.
Let's go back to old school, though, Martin.
But it's difficult. Now, the estate jewelry will give you that opportunity if you can add value. In other words, if you can't add value other than what Amazon does, you're toast.
No, I'm not going to do that.
What can I tell you? So if you can add value, then do it, and you'll make money. Okay.
That's the idea.
All right. Let me answer some of these questions. Ramazan, I like Ramazan. He's in the game. Okay. You asked me about exports. I explained that. An anonymous attendee. Why does some everything will have? You're looking at a work in progress over here. The auction starts on the 3rd. I'm getting a look from Michelle like, why are you doing this? You're seeing things as we're baking the cake over here. So everything will have estimates. The estimates may be high. The estimates may be God knows what. But we will have estimates in all the pieces. Okay? We're just putting them in. Now, you should be aware, by the way, this is what you're looking at right now is showing you what's going on. But there's going to be a RapNet bidding area, which is much more, how should I say, controlled and fancy, where you will see a lot of interesting things. Let me see if I can jump into this right now and just give you a quick look before we shut down the call. Here, Rapaport. I'll go into RapNet like a regular dude. Okay. Here's the RapNet dashboard. Now, pieces will be on RapNet, but when we go into RapNet, you will be able to see actual pieces and you'll be able to bid. There's going to be an entire environment on RapNet where people are actually going to go in there and bid. You have to be a RapNet member, or we'll give you a guest membership when you register. So probably the most important thing you can do is to register for the auction, because without that, you're not going to be able to bid or anything. And when we go into this environment, say, for example, I go into jewelry on RapNet, you can already start seeing pieces that are RapNet pieces. Okay. Here you can see some of them when they're there. You can, and these are the pieces that are owned by, or not owned, but are being offered for sale by Rapaport Jewelry Auctions. Okay. And the bidding will take place in RapNet as well. Okay. You'll be able to go in there, I guess, and really look at the piece. Okay. And there's a whole bunch of stuff going on. I think we put everything in here for $1 or something because we had to put some number in there. But it's going to be offered at the auction. Now, there is also an opportunity, just to give you a little taste what the auction is going to look like. You'll be, I don't think we have anything up here yet. See if there's any auctions, nothing that we can show you yet. But we will have stuff soon that we will be able to show you. And I don't think there's any active auctions. We didn't move the stuff in here yet. but you will be able to see a lot of very interesting things as we go through this environment. And excuse me, one more question, sure, and then we're going to kind of shut this down no later than one. Why does somebody have something? No, I don't see anymore. Let me see. Here it is. Melissa, good. What's your position on remodels in order to capture new clients in the local jeweler scenario? Now, I don't know what remodels are. And again, this is the Rapaport estate jewelry auction. Will we have other jewelry for sale on RapNet that are manufactured or remodels? Now, I'm not exactly sure what you mean by remodels. Maybe you can speak. Does that mean that it's something that looks like an estate piece of jewelry that's made, or does it mean it's something that was estate that is fixed, or what is remodels? I'm sorry, I'm so ignorant, but what is that? You can speak.
Oh, hi, Martin. I mean, redesign. Some pieces I've found clients that they have inherited from their families, and you know, they're traditional looking, but they're not necessarily estate or antique, you know, after we check them out. So
yeah, I think that's fine. I mean, let me just say this. We have a person here, Melissa, who's Marissa actually, who's our in-house, or she works with us on the merchandising. But when you go to this thing, and I want to show this to you, which I can answer that question. You know, one of the first questions we had was, what is estate jewelry? So as I went into this game over here, and I went to this, one of the things we did, the auction fact sheet. And in the auction fact sheet, the first question we ask is, what is estate jewelry? It would be nice if it came up, okay? Here it is, what is estate jewelry? Jewelry that has been previously owned by a consumer. Generally, the jewelry's craftsmanship and design assure a value greater than melt breakout value. In some industry, the jewelry is signed, stamped with a recognized brand or may include valuable gems. So yes, if someone came to you with a piece of jewelry, and then they said, can you remodel this for me because I want to put in baguettes, or I want this and that? Sure, it's estate jewelry as far as I'm concerned. But to me, one of the key aspects of estate jewelry is that it was previously owned by a consumer. It's not a newly manufactured piece, okay? Right. So the answer to you is yes, that should not be a problem.
Okay, great. Okay? Thank you.
Ramazan, adding value, broken by Amazon. Well, Amazon isn't breaking the value chain. Amazon is simply disrupting it by coming up with a new way to do things. Here's an example. Do you know, many years ago, the Wall Street Journal wrote an article about me about how I was using fax machines to create electronic markets. Fax machines. Today, no one uses fax machines. They scan and email. Was that like breaking the value chain by introducing email? I don't think so. It's just the way things change. So, you know, people were looking at horses, and then, you know, they asked Henry Ford, you know, he said, I don't ask people what they want, because if I ask people what they want, they would say, I want faster horses. So instead he made a car. So I think many retailers are confused about that. They have no clue how to do it when the taste of consumers are more generic. Now, the truth is that when you're selling generic items, whether it's shoes at Zappos with a lot of service where they ship you 10 shoes, you can just buy one, send it back, or whether it's jewelry like standard stud earrings on maybe Amazon or something. Yeah, you're not adding value by having a jewelry store necessarily. People know what to get, what to expect. They can return the item. Amazon will kill you. But if you're dealing with estate jewelry that has a story, is unique. For example, Amazon does not sell any used products. They only sell newly manufactured products. So the value chain is a challenge for people who are trying to add value to a pair of earrings, but the value of their added value doesn't justify the cost. So they have a salesman and they have a store and everything. But, you know, I would say that there's different consumers. So, like, for example, why does Blue Nile and Tiffany exist? One should put the other out of business because they're selling the same quality product, say FG VS1s, VVS2s, say FG VS1s. The same customer, you know, graduates of Harvard, Yale, you know, top schools, etc. That's their engagement ring market. Those wealthier millennials are getting engaged. And it's a job, everyone knows that. And there are two brands that are well known, but they're different experiences, different buying experiences. And, you know, here's a good point. Is a ring with an FES1 from a Tiffany brand inside of it, it says Tiffany inside the shank. Is that ring worth more money than another ring with an FVS1, both of them have GI grading reports, without the Tiffany? And the answer is yes. You can see the option, it brings in more money. So what is that added value? It's a brand, it's a promise that the diamond is well cut, it's a promise that, there's a quality. They don't sell anything less than, I guess, IVS1s, whatever it might be. So we have to think we have to think about how you're adding value in an ever-changing market, whether it's fax machines or earrings on Amazon or anything. How can you add value? And that's one of the things that excites me about this estate jewelry business, because, wow, it's amazing. Every piece you can't Amazon this stuff. You might eBay it, all right? But eBay somehow hasn't been able to resolve this market. But there's going to be competition and there's going to be stuff. All right, everybody, I see there was 1:06. No, this is the last question. We're now at 1:01, and my wife has told me whenever you do anything, it has to have a beginning and it has to have an end. So I want to thank everybody. We had a nice bunch of people over here, and you can email me anytime. You can communicate. Send an email to martin@rapaport.com. And my team will answer you if I'm too crazy busy, but we like you. I really believe the estate jewelry opportunity isn't so much about the estate jewelry as it is the people. Motivated sellers who want to send their grandchild to college. The jewelers who want to make money because they're going to help. They need to make money. They want to help these people sell their product. The Rapaport team who is going to get competitive bidding going. So I think that there's a lot of opportunity here, and I'm just really happy that we can try to connect the dots and make it happen. So I thank you all, and visit the website. Let us know your views. Tell us where you are, and let's hope that you find something that you can use to buy and be successful with, okay? So this is Martin Rapaport signing off from New York, and looking forward to seeing you and getting bids and your participation in the auction. Okay? And send me your ideas and concerns. I'm very happy to talk to everyone in here. Okay?
Good job, Martin.
All the best. Thanks. All the best, everybody. Right. Bye.
Thank you so much.
Yes. And I can shut us down. I can shut us
Blessings to your wife.
down. Okay. Yes.